Hello everybody, welcome. So today I'm going to try and teach myself how to TIG weld. And I'm going to time myself and see how long it can take. I've never even touched a torch before I got this AHP. Never fired an arc up before. I have used a gas welder, oxyacetylene, for brazing, doing HVAC. I've done that. And I've used a stick welder a little bit, not very good with it, and I've done a little bit of MIG welding, but I've never TIG welded, and I want to teach myself. So I'm going to do the internet benchmark of seeing how long it takes me to be able to stick two razor blades together. So that's the test. The only thing I know about TIG welding is how to set the machine up, because I haven't really done any research other than that. Yeah, so let's get started. The machine I'm using for this is my brand new AHP Alpha TIG 201. This is the 201, not the 200. The only difference I can tell is it comes with the normal looking foot pedal, not the funky looking one. So, with that being said, let's turn on the gas and get started. Now I know nothing at all about TIG welding. Now I just brushed everything down with a wire brush. I have no idea what I'm doing. So let's get started. So I just ground down this piece of steel, got it clean, I think, and we're going to try again. Alright, I'm going to stop trying to use filler metal and just try and run a good kind of clean bead.
is going to be the end of, I'm going to call it part 1, teaching myself to TIG weld. And I'm just going to give a little disclaimer. This isn't teaching myself to TIG weld to pass a welding test and be a aerospace welder or a NASCAR welder or anything like that. This is teaching myself to TIG weld projects together because I want to learn how to TIG weld because it's cool, because I like it, because it's fun. I'm not a welder by trade. Welding is not my job. Welding is my hobby. It's what I do for fun. And I don't need to pass a test to make what I want to make with a welder. I'm not doing anything structural. I'm not making cars. So I'm not going to stress about it. Maybe one day if I want to make cars or something like that, I'll go and pass a test so that I know that you just want peace of mind. I'm not going to sell someone something that's going to fall apart. Even my TIG, I might not be certified, but a fire pit that I make isn't going to fall apart even if you're standing and jumping on it. So I'm not worried about that. So let's get into the meat of it. Now that the disclaimer's over. So I'm going to go over what I learned, what I like, what I don't like. For starters, I don't like this switch. This is coming off. I was welding outside, standing, didn't feel comfortable using the foot pedal. That's why this is on there, because I like my high frequency start. I don't know if my machine will do. I'm sure it'll do lip arc or scratch start, but I have high frequency, so I use it. And I don't like those. That's why the zip ties aren't even cut. It was just a real quick project. So let's talk about what I learned. Number 1, wear long sleeves. Don't wear short sleeves when you weld or you'll get sunburned. If you're okay with that, sure, by all means. But have fun with melanoma, right? Is it worth it? That's up for you to decide. Leave the machista bullshit at the door and think about your health, because this ride ends for everybody and a lot sooner than it should for some people. So take care of yourself. That's the most important thing. And what do we got? So this is a number 17 torch, and this is the one that comes with the AHP 201. It's not a swivel head, but you can adjust. You can spin this all around. You can, have it straight like that, or you can do it like that, however you want. I find I just kind of leave it in one spot and don't play with it. Maybe if I did more like out of position welds or something, I would do that. Now that also came with a kit. Since this whole thing comes off, it came with a kit to make it a number 9, which is smaller. And that's actually the first one I put on. And then I realized that the 7-inch tungstens are too long for that, so I changed it out to this one. So once the tungstens get shorter, and say too short for number 17 with a little stubby back cap on there, you switch it over to a number 9, which shortens you up even more, and your tungstens can last a bit longer. Speaking of tungsten, grind all your tungstens at once. Buy 2 boxes of tungstens, fork over the $40 for them. Grind them all at once, because you're going to dip so many tungstens. You're going to dip them right off the start. You're not even going to get a weld started, and you're going to dip it. You can weld with a dirty tungsten. You can weld with a balled up tungsten, but you lose the arc control, and when it's dirty, you can just tell. Well, not when you start. I made the mistake of like, I dipped it, but it still works. It's still going. Don't do that. That's the mistake number 1. If you dip it, just take it out, put a clean one in, and save them all and grind them all. Because number 1, when you ball them all up and they get really dirty, they take 3 times longer to grind. So just from the start, get them all ground, clean, good to go. And then when you dip one, change it, throw it back in the box, either face down, face up, so like when they're dirty for me, I stick them in face up, so the color's on the bottom, but then I can see, don't grab that one because it's, balled up, or it's broken, or whatever have you. And then when it comes time to sharpen, just head over to the bench grinder. You're going to be really acquainted with your bench grinder. you can buy a tungsten sharpener, but they're expensive, and a bench grinder works just fine. I think some of them are radioactive. Wear a respirator. You know, safety first, right? You should wear a respirator when you grind metal anyways. It's not good to breathe that in. So, number 2 thing I learned, don't adjust more than one setting at a time. When I started, I had my gas up too high, my amperage too low, and my post flow was too low also because I wanted to save gas, but I was running it at 25 CFH, cubic feet an hour, when I only needed to be at 15, and then my welds were like really porous and nasty looking, and I was like, oh, I'm not getting enough shielding gas. Either that or my amperage is too high because it looked like the metal was boiling. And then so I turned my amperage down more, and I raised my post flow to, so I was at like 2 seconds. It's not enough. You gotta let that tungsten cool down. The main reason for post flow is to let the tungsten cool down and not oxidize, because just like steel, when it's red hot, it'll oxidize instantly and get dirty. And so you don't want that. So that's the main reason for post flow. Also, you can help keep the weld clean, because when the steel is red hot, same thing, oxidizes instantly. You want to protect that. So I found 4 or 5 seconds is good for most smaller stuff. If you're welding some thick stuff that's going to hold in some more heat, maybe it disperses it faster. I don't know. Not a physicist. Maybe turn it up some. Bigger tungstens, probably turn it up some. But for me, 4 or 5 seconds works great. But the problem I had was adjusting everything at once. And so I turned my amperage down even lower, and I could barely get a puddle, but it looked like it was boiling. And I was like, okay, well, let's try turning it down. I went down so it started at 25, went to 30 CFH, down to 20. Didn't touch my amperage that time, but same thing, still bubbling. So then I turned my amperage down even lower, and it wouldn't even start a puddle. I was like, okay, well, that's not it. So I turned the amperage back up. I just turned it up to like 60 or something. I was welding some 1/8 inch coupons. I guess that's what they're called, the little practice welding plates. And I turned the flow down to 15, and then it was like perfect. That was like eureka. That's how it's supposed to look. But the problem I had was I wasn't pushing. I was dragging, and doing it backwards. Yeah, I was dragging instead of pushing, because you're always supposed to push with TIG, right? I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I was dragging. I know when I'm holding it in my hand now. So I was dragging wrong. Don't do that. It creates like a Venturi effect and sucks in more oxygen and contaminates the welds. You're supposed to push. And once I started pushing too, now pushing with TIG, at least for me, it just seems more difficult. And maybe it is more difficult, but that's the way you have to do it to keep your weld shielded. So either way, started pushing and started dipping a lot of tungstens and clean. I've ground probably like 2 inches off of all my tungstens. I have 20 tungstens, and they're all probably down to 5 inches now. But you burn up so many, especially when you start. But they still have a lot of life left in them, you know. So don't worry about that. Tungstens last a long time. I haven't bought, other than tungstens and filler metal, I've bought no consumables. These little cups that came with it, they've lasted quite a while, but they're getting dirty. I'm not sure if that affects anything. And kind of discoloring a little bit. See, it's supposed to be like a copper. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. It's supposed to be like just pure copper, and it's almost more reddish down here. Not oxidized, maybe it's just burnt. And then you can see balled up tungsten. That's from welding outside. And then got some discoloration on there. I'm not sure if that affects anything. I haven't noticed anything, and I can notice when I have contamination now, so that's a good thing, I guess. But yeah, that's it. It just takes practice. That's all. Just a lot of time on the arc. I mean, it's been about 4 hours. That's about how long that container is supposed to last, and it's empty. and I'd say that's about right. 4 hours of arc time, a little less with post flow. And I feel confident with my TIG welds. I feel a lot better. I still dip the tungsten occasionally, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm just doing this for fun and taking you guys along for the ride. So, without further ado, I guess that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. Maybe. You learn a lot more by doing it yourself, though. So, get out there. Go buy the $200 welder that you see and